Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Sports Scene Live. We're taping another show here at Snow's. This used to be our home base. We did a number of shows here a number of years ago, and we're glad to be back again. Todd, she's being the host, and we do appreciate his support. Let me tell you, we've got a lot to talk about. Of course, the pandemic is going on. That changes everything for 2020. We don't know what's going to happen with high school football or college football for that matter, but we've got a fella here, our guest today, can answer a lot of the questions. We may not answer all of them, but we've got a lot of questions to ask. We'll get a lot of answers as well. Dwain Jenkins will be our special guest. We'll be right back with Coach Jenkins right after this.
Brubacher's Grill at 909 East Ascension Street in Gonzales, where good food and good friends come together. Offering a casual, fun atmosphere with a menu selection to satisfy the whole family. From pizzas, burgers, and po' boys to steaks, seafood, and salads with daily lunch specials and a whole lot more. Bring the whole family or meet friends on the deck. There's fun and entertainment for all. Make Brubacher's your next stop for lunch or dinner. And check out the other 5 locations in Baton Rouge. Taste the great tradition at Brubacher's Grill, where some things only get better.
Exercising is my life, so when I had to stop because of my foot and ankle pain, I was absolutely devastated. I chose Peak and they taught me how to relieve the pain. They really do bring out the athlete in everyone. Choose Peak.
Choose Peak Performance Physical Therapy.
Bertrand's Pharmacy has been providing personal medication counseling for over 30 years. Andy and Jeannie Bertrand, registered pharmacists, honor many prescription plans. Bertrand's is open Monday through Saturday. Phone 644-5641. Bro Welding and Industrial Supply prides themselves on same-day delivery. Customer service is our #1 priority. They deliver on time, every time. Bro Company, serving the area for over 30 years. On the web at broco.com. Sanama Muffler and Brake is a lot more than the name implies. They do exhaust, brakes, general auto repair, tune-ups, diagnostics, air conditioning, and tires. Sanama Muffler and Brake. Whatever the problem, we can fix it. See Foti Financial Services for all your money needs. They have loans for any worthwhile purpose. Auto, furniture, appliance, home improvement, and vacation loans. Celebrating over 50 years of service, Foti Financial Services. 2 of the best companies in the concrete business have joined forces to give you a high-quality product on time. Ask for an estimate, and Quality Concrete will give you the best prices and best product. Quality Concrete in Prairieville.
Welcome back to Snow's Seafood and Steak, right here on Airline Highway and the Plantation Room, where we're going to be doing our interview today with Dwain Jenkins, the head coach at Lutcher and athletic director, and more importantly right now, as far as we're concerned, the president of the Louisiana High School Athletic Association. Thank you, Coach, for being with us today.
Thank you. I know everybody's got a lot of questions about what's going on, and as we continue to move closer and closer to the start of the school year, I guess the questions become more and more adamant and apparent, and people want answers.
And things can change from day to day. Whatever we say today could change tomorrow.
I think one of the things with TV now, it almost needs to be live to keep up with what's going on. From day to day, minute to minute, things are changing, and all it takes is the governor to call another press conference, and things can change again.
They're saying, and from what I've been told, and we're social distancing, as you can see, they're saying that you need to get to phase 4 before you can go to contact sports, which would be football. You know, you can go to 7-on-7 at phase 3, but we're not even into phase 3 yet, right?
Correct. We're currently in phase 2, and I think this week you saw a lot of, chatter, and people were alerted because there was a chart that came out after Eddie Bonine, the executive director of the LHSA, testified basically in front of the House Education Committee. And that chart actually had phase 4 on it, which kind of sent everybody's ears to stand up and went on high alert. What's 4? But it's really no different than what the coaches have seen since May. In May, we've got guidelines from the National Federation of High Schools. We got guidance from the Louisiana Department of Education. And we got guidance from the LHSA's Sports Medicine Advisory Committee in late May, early June. And basically, at that point, it only went up to phase 3. But that was in phase 3, when it described what phase 3 was, it didn't take a rocket scientist to read those guidelines and understand that football wasn't included in phase 3. It was very limited to being able to have, just by the group size that came out from the Department of Health and Department of Education, phase 1 was 10 people, phase 2 was 25, phase 3 was 50. Well, And in each of those guidelines, those groups were to static groups, which meant controlled static groups that were the same people all the way through. So you're not playing a football game if you can only have 50 people in a group and it's a static group that's defined. So, and it also came out and specifically said that 7-on-7 within your team would be okay, but you couldn't go out and play another school like we traditionally would do over the summer anyway. So phase 3, in a lot of ways, is a modified summer workout that the rest of us are used to year in and year out.
And a 7-on-7 would be without helmets and pads too, right?
Phase 3 would allow you to start putting on helmets, and one of the things that Dr. Stewart, who's the head of the Louisiana High School Athletic Association Sports Medicine Committee, he's basically trying to maybe supplement those rules as we get a little bit closer to, if we get to phase 3, to allow us to maybe put the pads on and still not have contact, just so we can start getting that acclimatization period. That way you can start getting used to having the pads on in the heat and humidity that is South Louisiana football and Louisiana football. So that's one of the things that he presented to the executive committee of the LHSA a couple of weeks ago, that kind of, if we move into phase 3, there could be some amendments maybe to that phase 3 protocol that would allow to put shoulder pads on, just so you can start getting used to the heat and humidity, but still without contact.
Since you brought that up, I'm going to ask you a couple questions about health-wise on the field. When it's 95, 98, 110 heat index and everything, you've got to modify your practices quite a bit, and hydration is a major factor. Do you still give salt tablets? I mean, when I played, we took salt tablets, and I've heard that that's not good.
No, we've kind of moved away from that. Now with everything, the piece on hydration is if you wait to hydrate when you get at practice, it's too late. So a lot of education takes place on that behalf with our sports medicine people that we have.
When I played, you couldn't take water, and,
Yeah.
you took salt tablets.
Yeah.
It's amazing we survived.
I've heard those stories from guys who, especially in Lutcher, you've got the guys who in a quarterback club and come every week, and you got guys who played in the 50s and guys who played in the 60s, and those guys will talk about back in the day when they played, there was no water breaks, and then they would soak a towel and pass the towel
That's
around,
right,
and you would
that's
suck on the towel to get your hydration. So, yeah, I would think in today's world and the litigious society,
we had Florida water we'd put on our
litigious
face.
society we live in today, if I soaked a towel in water and passed it around and tried to pass it off as a water break, they might have me buried underneath the jail.
But things have changed quite a bit in that regard. What would you do right now if you were coaching with the heat like now? Would you have regular breaks every 20 minutes, an hour, 30
Well,
minutes?
it's really what we've we've gotten used to it. The biggest thing that we have right now is, with all of the regulations that we do have, just even for our strength and conditioning and our running that we're having the kids bringing their own water, so that we're not even refilling them on campus. And so right now, because of the pandemic that's going on, we don't even have the regular tools that we would normally use at practice. So basically our kids are all bringing their big water coolers filled up, and they're using them. But it's part of the art of coaching, I would say. There's no science there. You got to be able to watch and monitor your kids and see how they're reacting and see what the elements are doing that day, and really understand kids and understand when it's time to back off and when it's time to push through it.
I had a dream the other night about a new football formation. It was social distancing. The center was here, and then the guards were 6 feet apart, and the tackles were 6 feet apart, and the whole field was spread out.
If you go check some of that Mike Leach Texas Tech footage, you'll see some of that stuff when Leach was at Texas Tech, and Lincoln Riley was an offensive coach at Oklahoma. You'll get some super wide splits there. But I can remember back in the day when Lincoln Riley was actually playing for Mike Lee. It was and Graham Harrell and those guys were at Texas Tech. You saw some of those really wide splits showing
social
up.
distancing was before that.
Before social distancing was cool, Mike Leach had some 6 foot and 8 foot splits out there on his offensive line to really spread people out.
Well, it is an unusual year, the pandemic year, and it'll be a year that'll have an asterisk by it years from now as we look back at records and that sort of thing. Let's hope there are some records this year, because that means you played. But right now we don't know if we're going to play or not.
Yeah, exactly. I think all you can do right now is continue to whether you agree politically or disagree on what the stance is, we have to have these numbers come down. and we have to make some adjustment. If we want to have sports traditionally like we've had and the seasons that we've had, the numbers are going to have to come down because we're going to have to proceed through these phases, and we've got to get kids back in school on a normal basis. And right now, based on the testing and the numbers that are coming out, the government isn't allowing those things to happen. So until we start seeing some of those things move in a positive direction, we'll be looking at differences and changes and things that just aren't normal.
We'll be back with more with Dwayne Jenkins right after this time out. Stay with us. We're from Snows at the Plantation Room, and we'll be right back.
Marchand's interior and hardware specialist. You got it made.
Come into our showroom and let our experts guide you through our large selection of today's latest trends. Marchand's flooring and countertop collections offer these styles with unbelievable prices. And at Marchand's, we install it all. Come in to see all of the promotions and specials going on now.
With Marchand's interior and hardware specialist, you got it made.
I'm sorry about that. I guess Pancake likes you.
A pancake? What's a pancake?
This Pancake is a kitten, a baby cat.
Like tigers? I've read about tigers.
See Louisiana from a whole new angle. 7-inch Cara gives life along the Mississippi a fresh new perspective.
Hebert Steel Incorporated, Gonzales and Baton Rouge, offers structural steel fabrication. Hebert Steel is a proud supporter of all high school sports in this area. Phone 644-5316 or 291-2144. Don't buy all the tools you need to get the job done. Rent what you need from General Rental. They have contractors and homeowner tools. General Rental on the Airline Highway across from the State Fairgrounds. Are your brakes squeaking? Is your car sputtering? Take it to Rossi Automotive. Their computer diagnostic test will locate the problem, and they'll do the necessary repairs and get you back on the road at Rossi Automotive. Tiger Audio, South Airline Highway, Gonzales. They're on the edge of town and the cutting edge of audio technology for your auto, home theater, and marine needs. Tiger Audio. Call the audio experts today and hear the roar.
Diaz Tire and Auto Repair invites you to shop with them in Gonzales and the Highway 42 Prairieville location. Bring your school ID and get $5 off oil, lube, and filter. Diaz Tire, Airline Highway, Gonzales, and Highway 42 Prairieville. You know, I looked at some of the other schools around the country. Southern California's canceling their football program, it looks like high school-wise. Texas looks like they're on the borderline. It looks like they're going to cancel theirs. Is that a possibility for Louisiana? I
think we're committed to playing football. I just don't know if we're going to be on the same timeline that we normally are, and that's kind of what we're looking at right now. I think the governor's announcement coming up in a couple of days on July 20th, before his next order would expire on July 24th, is going to have a huge impact on what the outlook for the fall is. And I've been in contact, and fortunately through my position as the president of the Coaches Association, both Louisiana High School Coaches Association and the Louisiana Football Coaches Association, I've had the opportunity to be invited to some national meetings and have contacts now basically across the country, and to see how different states are responding. And everybody's kind of on their own timeline, and that's one of the things I would caution people about is don't get caught up in what other states are doing, because all of the states are in different stages as far as how this pandemic's hit. I know Mississippi came out yesterday and basically pushed back their season, but and I see that, and I've heard coaches say, look, Mississippi's doing it, they're moving forward. But then when you go back and look at the numbers, Louisiana and Mississippi are very similar population-wise, but the way our populations are congregated in our state are very different. We've got some metropolitan areas, and you look at the case count, Louisiana's got 50,000 more cases than the state of Mississippi, have had 2,000 more deaths. So our timeline and Mississippi's timeline won't be the same. And I think that's one of the things you kind of get caught up looking at what other states are doing, but you have to understand that each state's impact, and really every area, every region in the state's impact of this pandemic has been different.
My next question was going to be, would Shreveport be different than Baton Rouge, and Baton Rouge different than New Orleans?
Well, I think what we saw early on in the early stages of this breakout, it was concentrated more to the New Orleans metro area. But what we're seeing now in this, I guess, this summer spike, I think they've cautioned against calling this a second wave, but this summer spike, you're seeing that it's now having impacts kind of across the state in different areas. But also the other thing is, in that first wave, we saw it only impacting a certain demographic, a certain age group of people who were 60 plus. But now we're seeing those numbers climb with younger people, and I think the fastest growing group is kind of that 18 to 35 group, which was really unimpacted in the early phase of it, but now in this summer spike, we're seeing that's the group that's climbing. Fortunately, the death rate for that group is a lot lower than what it was for the older group that we saw in that first hit. But I think that's where we are right now. I think in the early part we saw it kind of, I guess, fixed on New Orleans, and then now in this summer spike that we're having right now, you're seeing it spread, kind of dissipated throughout the state, and every region's kind of getting hit a little bit different. I think the governor said in his press conference Saturday, of the 64 parishes in Louisiana, only 3 were still in a low outbreak count.
You know, in looking at what's going on around the state and everything, would there be a difference? I mean, is there going to be a statewide thing from the governor, from the Board of Education? In other words, could they have one rule for Shreveport and a different rule for Baton Rouge?
Well, I think you've seen a little bit of that. I know some of the guys that are on the football advisory group are in the city of New Orleans, and because of the impact that it had on the city of New Orleans early on, each local government can kind of proceed as they see fit based on what the governor's guidelines are. So if the governor moves us, hopefully the governor moves us forward. If we see in a local area like New Orleans, they've kind of been in this where they've been a little bit behind. Whatever phase the governor moved to, the city of New Orleans has been had a little lag and hasn't moved quite as fast. And I think that's what you can see in local areas is you can't exceed what the governor's guidelines, but you can actually stay a phase behind or have more stringent regulations in a local area.
What's the chances of spring football and nothing in the fall?
You're starting to see that. I think New Mexico was the first state to make that leap. Earlier this week, New Mexico came out and announced that they would flip their seasons. I think one of the things you've heard from football coaches across the state and getting to talk to a lot of them is nobody wants to see what happened to our seniors of 2021 in the spring, where they lost the season, that they didn't get to finish that season. You had powerlifters that didn't get to finish the powerlifting season. No baseball, no softball, no track, tennis, golf. None of those sports got to complete their seasons, and nobody wants to see that happen going into this 2020-2021 school year. So you don't want to see that happen to another class. So I think any option needs to be on the table that would allow kids to get to compete in all sports all the way around. And if that means an untraditional calendar or uncommon calendar, then I think we need to explore it.
Yeah, in college they can expand that. They can have another year to play. High school, you can't do that.
Well, I think the other thing that gets lost in that piece is in high school you have so many athletes that are multi-sport athletes, guys who play football, basketball, guys who play football, baseball, football, track. In college, you don't see that very often. So if they decided to run seasons simultaneously in college, it would have no impact on coaches or athletes. But in high school, that guy who's coaching offense might also be the head basketball coach, and that guy who's your best receiver might be your best power forward. And now all of a sudden, he's having to pick between.
He's playing a football game in the afternoon and playing a baseball game that night.
The days of Deion Sanders being able to jump in a helicopter and fly around won't work.
He did that. He played both in one day.
Won't work in high school like it did in the pros.
Yeah. All right. I guess your hands are kind of tied too. As a coach, what are coaches doing these days? I mean, are they sitting at home watching TV all day? Or
no, we've had the benefit. We were allowed to do some strength and conditioning. We're allowed to work out with our kids. We have to follow the guidelines that are supposed to be following the guidelines that the state has put out for the phases. So for us right now, we have kept all of our groups total. That means coaches and student athletes at under 25.
We'll be right back with Dwayne Jenkins, the head football coach, athletic director at Letcher High School, and also the president of the Louisiana High School Athletic Association after this time out from Snows.
Suit yourself at Squire's Formal Wear. They have everything for homecomings, proms, or any other occasion. Get a free groom's formal with the purchase of 6 rentals. Ask about limo rentals too. Squire's Formal Wear, Gonzales. Ascension Granite and Marble offers fabrication and installation of natural stone and quartz slabs. For stone and countertop installation in your home, call Evan Gonzalez at 225-644-2231. Ernest Martin Incorporated is owned and operated by Bud and Sean Martin. Their 9 trucks deliver sand, clay, and limestone for residential, commercial, and industrial needs. Ernest Martin Incorporated, since 1970. We're in it for the long haul.
Diaz Tire and Auto Repair invites you to shop with them in Gonzales and the Highway 42 Prairieville location. Bring your school ID and get $5 off oil, lube, and filter. Diaz Tire, Airline Highway Gonzales, and Highway 42 Prairieville.
Meds are important. Get that special fill when you arrive at Prairieville Pharmacy. You'll enjoy personal service with that special touch. It just makes you feel welcome and well taken care of every time you visit Prairieville Pharmacy. Diaz Auto Parts Gonzales is your Napa dealer. They have quality parts, accessories, paints, tools, and supplies. A complete line for cars, trucks, imports, marine, industrial, and farm equipment. They make hydraulic hoses. Diaz Auto Parts, your Napa dealer. Pot and Paddle Jambalaya Kitchen, with 3 locations offering daily lunch specials, is one of our newest sponsors. Pot and Paddle, for dine-in, carry-out, and catering. A great place for lunch 7 days a week. Baton Rouge, Denham Springs, and here in Gonzales on Cabela's Parkway. Check them out online at potandpaddle.com.
Exercising is my life, so when I had to stop because of my foot and ankle pain, I was absolutely devastated. I chose Peak and they taught me how to relieve the pain. They really do bring out the athlete in everyone. Choose Peak.
Choose Peak Performance Physical Therapy.
With Dwayne Jenkins, who got a text message while we were in the break talking about New Mexico football just now.
Yeah, and that's, like I was saying, I'm part of this national group, and I got the text message that alerted me that New Mexico has officially moved their football to the spring, and that first week is going to be February 22nd of 2021.
I can see colleges moving into the spring because they want to hopefully get through the virus and have fans come to the games to buy tickets to help fund them for the whole year. High schools aren't that tight of a budget type thing where they have to worry about that, but they would want to play a schedule if you can. Would you play a conference-only kind of schedule?
I think that gets a little tough sometimes in high school just because of the way the high school sports are kind of set up. Every district's a little different. So I think you would need to have some set number of games, not necessarily a conference-only schedule. Unless we just decided to make a complete change in what the scheduling would look like and go away from our current district format and maybe opened it up and allowed schools to schedule games completely different from the cycle that we're in right now. I would think if something like that happened, I think that's the extreme case, and we'd probably have some major impacts on what playoffs and those things would look like.
Schools that are going online only, can they have football teams?
Okay, so that's one of the things that's kind of been out because you do have parents that are making that option, and I think most school districts are kind of some type of way implementing a virtual option. And I think what the LHSAA has came out and said that's going to be up to the individual local education authority. So Ascension Parish schools can make that decision that if they are going to allow kids to attend virtual classes, attend school virtually, Ascension Parish then has the right to decide.
Of course, football coaches can't coach virtually. You have to have them on the field.
You have to. So then the school district gets to make the decision on whether or not kids get to participate in extracurriculars if they take a virtual track. So I think that's something that will be a district by district decision, and I think that would be an interesting call for a superintendent to make.
Oh, I tell you what, that's a tough call, because if you're saying you can't come to class and be in a classroom, but you can be on a football field practicing colliding body to body, those are two oppositions right there.
Some things, when you say them out loud, the common sense just sometimes isn't so common.
Yeah, I guess when you look at it, nationwide, you see some places where they say you can't have groups of 50, but then you can go protest with 20,000.
Yeah, there's all kind of different guidelines out there. I think everybody's got a different way of looking at it, and I think that's been one of the biggest, I guess, issues with how the government's approach this is it's left some flexibility in each government's local hands.
This season will be a different kind of season, no question about that. What do you do as the head football coach, athletic director, if they say, okay, we're going to do a spring league? Do you do anything in the fall then?
Well, I think it really matters. I would think in high school, if we went to that nuclear option where we were switching seasons, I would think that something would be in its place in the fall.
Baseball would be in the fall?
Whether it's
Softball,
track or
yeah.
basketball, something has to. Because of the way the athletic calendar works and multi-sport athletes, I don't think it's easy as the colleges, because of the single sport athlete, that they can just move a season and not be affected by it. I think in high school you would have to move some of the sports, so you would really have to back off or whatever your football was to allow that other sport to come into place and pick up something that football coaches have never done before, has not had the luxury of starting right off the summer.
I feel for the athlete, because let's face it, let's take a baseball team. That's what I played, mostly in college and so on. But you only have, let's say 25 players. Okay, of that 25, you might have 5 that would go on to play college ball, maybe. The other 20, this is their last opportunity to really play.
No doubt. I felt so bad, so much for the kids that didn't get to finish that season in the spring. I've used
that season's lost forever.
Yeah, I've used this kid as an example multiple times, kind of going through all of this, because some people have made the argument if we have to move the football season, it may impact that kid that's going to play college. He may not get to play because he's enrolling early, and that would be tough for that kid not to be able to play. But that kid's getting the opportunity to go play in college, so he'll play football again. And I've used a kid that played center for us last year. His name is Colton Poche. He's 5'9", a 240-pound kid. Played offensive line, swam, and played baseball.
Wow.
This was all he was good. High school was it for him,
yeah.
And he didn't get to play the last part of his high school baseball season. That's the kid that I want to make sure is getting an opportunity to play everything, because, like you said, it's a very small percentage of kids that are going to get to continue to play
the next level,
at the next level. So we need to give that high school experience in the things that high school athletics are able to teach kids. We need to give them that opportunity. And those are the kids that we need to be focused on, not maybe you don't want to say you don't want to focus on a superstar, but that superstar is going to get that opportunity to play again.
Dwain is a very modest coach. Let me tell you something. He was a quarterback in high school, played at Lutcher, went on to St. James and had success there, and took a team that had not won very many games into the state championship game. Lost it to Lutcher. The next year he turns around and coaches Lutcher and wins the state championship. You've been at both ends.
Yeah, I've been very blessed, and I guess it's been a blur now. You start looking back, and I'm creeping closer and closer to hitting my 20th year. Wow. In coaching and in education, and I've been fortunate. Had a lot of good years in that early part of my career. Fortunate to be part of 4 teams that's won state championships in football, another one in powerlifting, got another team to the state championship game, and it's a tribute to a lot of awesome kids and a lot of awesome families that I've been able to been around over that time period, and just can't thank them enough for allowing me to be part of it.
Let's hope you continue to coach. Right now there's nothing to coach. Let's hope you do that. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.